Hi,
Hello. Hi, Mama. How are you?
I am wonderfully blessed. How are you today?
I'm thank you. So am I.
Good.
Thanks for coming on with me. I'm not going to keep you long. I just wanted to touch bases with you because last time we talked, can you hear me?
Yes.
You have to lean towards me?
No, I was fixing something on my desk.
Okay. Yeah, last time we talked, I couldn't really hear you. And it was an introduction. People see your testimony and they see how far you come, but they don't know where you come from and why I chose you to be like the wisdom. And, you know, of course, you have the ministry, so the prayer and everything. And I just wanted you to share a little bit. And then, of course, you know that today is a day that we have our first Black vice president. And Martin King Day was also on Monday. And I wanted people don't know that you were there. So I wanted you to touch on that. And I just wanted, I want to give you the floor tonight, really. And I know that you kind of want to share a message with your grandkids and all of that. So I just wanted you to give, just want to give you the floor. And
Well, thank you for that. Today is has been a very emotional day for me and probably 95% of people in my generation, because we are living to see something that we never dreamed, even though we told our children it was possible. We really never dreamed really that it could happen in America.
yes.
So, as you say, a few days ago, we celebrated Dr. King's birthday. And I was telling someone that I really hate that they have started calling it MLK Day, because that kinds of takes away what the message. We're in such a fast-paced society until we don't really take time to give people recognitions. And I think if another generation we go through saying MLK Day, it's going to get lost. The meaning is going to get lost. Who he is going to get lost, who he was. And a few weeks ago, I did a presentation at a couple of my grandkids' school, and they wanted to know about the movement and the marches. And well, they really just wanted to know a little bit more about me, DeMarcus, Jazz, and JJ's school. Wanted to know a little bit more about who I was, and of course, the kids' grandmother. And in that discussion, we started talking, and I told them about the marches and that I had participated in, and it was very, very moving. And I still get calls today wanting me to come back and be a speaker. I'm not really a speaker, but just to tell my story.
Absolutely. And I love your story, and I always tell my friends about it. And I do have you on record with another one, but I have to find it. So I just wanted you to do something special today. So yeah, you can start wherever you like. Do you want to start from, you grew up in Memphis, Tennessee.
Yeah, I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee, in a small town, actually 2.5 street community that was called Crump. It's a part of the Douglas community, and Douglas community is one of the first Black communities. Orange Mound actually is the first Black community that was made for Blacks, that was built for Blacks. Then there was Douglas, and I graduated Douglas High School. I went to Douglas we didn't have kindergarten in those days. School started at the 1st grade and went through the 12th. So my whole school was at one school. We had 3 different buildings, an elementary, a middle, and a high school, but it was all in one location. I left there and went to Grade Business College, also a Black, they call it HBCs now, and I'm not sure if people my generation even realize what a HBC is. That's why I hate all these initials. It's the That's why I hate all these initials, the HBCs. I went to
Okay, so what was the HBC?
It's a historical Black college.
Okay.
And, they talk about Morehouse and of course, was Spelman and those schools in Atlanta, not realizing that we had one here in Memphis, Tennessee. It was called Gregg Business College. And that's where I got my associate in applied science degree from.
Okay.
And to see our vice president be a product of that school, she's not the only one, of course, but she's the one in the spotlight today.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see all my grandchildren go to a historic Black college. I just think it's just something that we need to keep our heritage going.
Yeah.
And I've always been a rebel.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna say anything. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know. I was about to talk about Clark, Atlanta, and how proud I am that you chose that school and you actually chose not to go to Spelman because you thought they were a little snooty. But it's, I don't know, it's been an emotional week for me, really looking back, coming face to face with my past. I was in the movement. I was water hose. I was beaten. Dogs were set upon me. I guess that's why I don't like dogs today. They would put the dogs on us when they couldn't get us to move when we were marching. And I was telling the grandkids here the other day that I don't think my mother, I know she voted, but we never got the right to vote until the mid 70s, just a few years before you were born. At that point, we couldn't even vote. We wasn't allowed to. And then I was telling them how we had to walk, how Rosa Parks was such an inspiration to us, but she wasn't the first or the only Black woman that refused to give up her seat on a bus, but it was her time. And, because we were all been in those situations and had to jump off the bus running because the mob was coming behind us because we refused to give up our seat to a Black man. Because we were told that, men were supposed to protect the women. And if a man saw a woman standing, he was to get up and give her a seat. Mm-hmm. Well, in the civil rights movement, it was just the opposite. If you were seated and a male Caucasian got on a bus, you were legally bound to get up out of your seat and let that male Caucasian sit down. And of course, I've gotten run off many buses because I refused to get up. Had to go out the back door. That was the closest place because we had to sit behind a white line on a bus. There was 3 seats up front that was there for Caucasian passengers. Mm-hmm. And then there was a white line behind the 3rd seat. And behind that 3rd seat, behind that white line, Blacks could then begin to sit, but we couldn't sit anywhere near the front of the bus. We always had to sit behind that white line. And that white line was like 3 or 4 seats back once you entered the bus. So the back door, the side door was closer for us to get off. At first we were allowed only on the back, on the side of the bus. And then we were allowed on the front, but we had to move to the back. So, remembering all of that and then of course, Dr. King's Day, and then remembering I was telling them how, we were marching, not only in Memphis, but how I sneaked to Washington, D.C. that August, right after my birthday, really. My mother had sent me in the bus station to buy my ticket. I was going to New York to be with my sister. And so she had sent me in the bus station, and it was very segregated. We could go in one door, and we had a white and a Black drinking fountain. It was called colored drinking fountain. So I had gone in to buy my ticket while she waited outside to wait on the bus because we had to ride the bus, city bus. So she was going to wait on the bus while I ran in and bought my ticket, right? Well, I bought my ticket. Mm-hmm. but not to New York, New York, but to Washington, D.C.
Uh-huh.
So I sneaked to Washington, D.C. to the March on Washington in 1963.
Mm. There's a lot of people out there.
Oh my God, I have never seen so many people in my whole entire life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to imagine me getting off a bus and just following a crowd. So I had
Yeah.
no money. I had a sack lunch. I had no money, and I was just following the crowd, you know. So wherever the crowd went, I went. And finally, when we got to the Lincoln Monument, I was way, 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 way back. But it was a hot day in August, and I could see people passing out and from heat exhaustion and other people running to help them. And it was a multicultural crowd. You know, it wasn't just blacks, it wasn't just white, it was people of all races. So that's probably what shaped me to be the advocate for civil rights that I finally became.
Mm-hmm.
So this week was and seeing that ride on the Capitol, it just brought it all back. So the last couple of weeks, I said a week, but it's actually been 2 weeks, has been very emotional for me because I remember the last time, well, not the last time, but the last time I was there, I was there at that Capitol. I remember I sent all you guys to Washington. If I didn't take you, I sent you because I wanted that to be a part of your heritage. And to see them destroyed the way it was, and then remember when I was there and how as a young 17-year-old, I was able to walk those walls for the first time, to go in the Congress, and even went around the fence around the White House, went in through the back, of course, but was able to walk on the White House grounds. That was very important to me, and to see it in that way, it was just emotional. And then, of course, then fast forward to Dr. King's Day, and then remembering, you know, all of that, and then the Civil Rights Act, and then I was telling the grandkids that, and you stop me when you want me to now, because I'm
No.
kind of rambling. But I was telling the grandkids how we were looking at September. Actually had to go pick up her school books for school a couple of weeks ago. And I was telling her how you guys got new books when you went to school. When I went to school, we got used books that came from other schools. We didn't have new original textbooks even. We
Well,
had
so did we growing up. We didn't necessarily have new books all the time.
Yeah, okay, but it wasn't new books, but it wasn't hand me down from a Caucasian school. It was books that were used by other students at your
Yeah.
school.
Yes.
Ours came from another race. And so those are the books that we had in school. So I was
Okay.
telling them about that, and I was telling them also about how education played a part. You know, my first job, I was a maid, and seeing this week and the last couple of weeks events, it took me back to that time where I was a maid in a house for several Caucasian families, white families, and I did the cleaning, I did the toilets, I did the walls, the floors, the kids, I babysat them, educated them, you know, but I was not allowed to walk in their front door. So being a maid, I would have to go around and go in the back door.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's how I began my day.
Was that just normal to you, or did it make you feel some type of way?
Well, it made me feel some type of way, but it was normal because that's just the way it was.
Yeah.
You have to remember, we had no rights.
Yeah.
You know, if you wanted to work, I made $35 every 2 weeks, every other week. I made $70 a month on my first job. And on my second job, it wasn't very much better. I made $16.50 a week, and for 5.5 days. You know, and then I would clean those houses, and I would always say, well, one of these days I'm gonna have a big, beautiful house like this, and it's going to be clean, and I'm gonna keep it just like I keep this. That was always my dream.
No.
But not to say I was raised in a shack. I wasn't. I was raised in a 5-bedroom home with 1 bath. And it wasn't until I was married that I realized that big houses had lots of bathrooms. You
Mhm.
know, it was 7 of us with 1 bathroom.
Yeah.
So, you know, just those little simple things, that was so traumatic for me this last couple of weeks, you know, but
Mhm.
it's life.
Yeah. Well, cool. I'm sorry to hear that it was traumatic for you, but I'm happy that you are, here to see all these amazing events that have taken place between this year and last year. I mean, wow, like how many things have happened, like the star and no, the moon, no, the 2 planets,
Yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
the pandemic and the first, I mean, it's just so many things. And we have a Black um princess, and I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many things that happen. Like it's really cool. Um,
You know, and all those things, those are fairy tales, you know, that we Blacks have dreamed about, that now I've lived long enough to see accomplished. You know, never thought I'd see a Black president, even though I tried to raise my boys to be the first Black president. Never dreamed that a Black girl would be there, you know.
yeah,
So, yeah.
they may not have been the first Black president, but they definitely made an impact.
Well, we want to talk about the impact that they made.
But you can definitely brag on your oldest son. I mean, he didn't get president, but he definitely has a amazing position.
Well,
Um,
yeah, and I do, and I brag on him, but I can brag on all my children because they're all unique and they're all different in different ways, and they're so special.
mhm.
And they didn't follow my mold, or maybe they did, just just improved upon it. But you know, but it's okay. They're who they are, and they're getting better.
Yeah. What was I gonna say?
Well, we're talking about the oldest son and how you said I
Oh
could
yeah,
brag
yeah.
on him.
No, I was gonna say, I mean, not only the oldest son, but Uncle Earl and your husband, Vietnam, we have to get him in here, Mr. Floyd, and talk about his experiences and everything that he went through throughout his military days. And he has an amazing story also. Um, Maybe he'll come in at the end. I don't know, but I'll get him in next time for sure. Um, and then I want to go back to you talk about you being a nurse. When I was young, you were a nurse. My
Mhm.
auntie was a nurse. She traveled from home to home. I would go with her to her homes. I remember going to see her patients and stuff like that with her. They loved me.
Yes.
And then they would always give me stuff. I go home bawling. But yeah, I wanted you to go talk about that because a lot of people don't know about your amazing story. You took care of Elvis.
Yes.
And not only that, you said how young were you when you started? And you also went to being an ER nurse. So you were in it for quite a long time before you got to doing the child cares.
Yeah, I was in it quite a long time. I loved being a nurse. I loved it. It was what I thought was my calling. I've always loved helping people,
Mm-hmm.
and being a nurse was certainly that, you know. And yes, Elvis was my patient at one time, and so was his dad, Vernon. And a lot of stars came through Baptist Memorial Hospital. That's where I worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I started 11 to 7 in intensive care as an intensive care medical assistant, nurse's aide, and worked my way up. I challenged the board. And what I mean by that is, in those days, if you had work experience and
Mm-hmm.
if you had worked for a certain amount of time in a position and you thought you could qualify for another position, you could do what we call a challenge. And so you could challenge the board. So I challenged the board of nursing because in my little brain, I thought, well, I'm doing all this work and I have all this knowledge, but I'm not getting all that pay. So I challenged the board of nursing and got my licensed vocational nurse. It's called LPN, licensed practical nurse in degree license. And then I moved up from a nurse's aide to a licensed practical nurse, LPN. And then eventually after we moved to California, I challenged the California board for my registered nurse degree based on my experience as a nurse's aide and a licensed practical nurse. And sadly to say, I didn't pass it. I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. I missed it by 5 points, but I always meant to go back.
Oh, you're smart. Did you go back?
I always meant to go back, but you know, life happens.
Yeah.
And I didn't go back, but that's okay because it was a real experience. And then, of course, because of my challenging the board, then I opened a nursing school and taught other people how to challenge the board. So I had a lot of my students go through, and it was called the Vera Corley Preparatory School for LVN exam. So, and so I taught a lot of other people how to go through and challenge the board. And so because of that, a lot of people that never would have been registered nurses became registered nurses because they went through my school. So I was very proud of that.
Hey, look at you. Some things I didn't know about you. Is the hospital you worked at still in Memphis?
Yeah, it's Baptist Memorial, but it was at 899 Madison Avenue downtown. They closed the location and they're kind of like out in the neighborhood more. That was the medical district. I told someone the other day, I don't even know why they closed that location. It was perfect, you know. But you know where the hospitals are now. Well, Madison, they was just right across the street. All the hospitals was located there.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you know, they moved out into the neighborhoods, and Baptists, of course, moved out. So they don't have that central location, but they have other locations.
And the hospital I was born at is gone too, right?
Yeah, St. Jude, actually, you were born at St. Joseph. St. Jude actually took over St. Joseph. The St. Jude is the cancer center for children by Danny Thomas. Well, they bought that land.
Okay.
So they closed St. Joseph.
I love their cause, so I'm glad that where I was born went to such a great cause, St. Jude, definitely. Yeah. And you actually kind of watch Memphis become the mecca of medicine that it is. I don't think a lot of people know how well the Memphis healthcare system is, and I definitely have to give them, you know,
kudos, yes,
for catching my daughter's diabetes and also doing such a great job with Mr. Floyd because they keep him sick. And even with us, like we went to the eye exams, they were so thorough. And even like when I went to have like my, like tell them like the place we go to is the Memphis Medical Health Center and tell them how that got started. Well,
you know, that's so strange. Here I go again. When I was a young girl, well, not young girl, I was a mother. And my pastor, Bishop G.E. Patterson, he's passed away and gone to be with the Lord now. But at that time, he was telling us that there was a group of doctors that was going to get together and form this nonprofit, and where they would treat people for free or on a sliding scale. Didn't really know what a sliding scale was, but anyway, was going to treat people on a sliding scale, and he wanted us to join this organization. Well, I think I joined it, but pretty soon afterwards, I moved my family to California, so I really didn't like stay in touch with it. And then when I came back to see Christ Community Health Center, this big mega conglomerate, and I was so excited to be connected with their Genesis. And then, of course, I put my business, Caramoo, on their medical program insurance. And so, and that's how, but back
Oh,
in that day, I had no idea.
I didn't
It
know
was just,
that. I didn't know. I didn't know that you had put it on their medical. Why? I know that that's the location in Poplar was in the building, but I didn't know that that's how it came about.
yeah, now I just joined their medical with my company. So it
Okay.
became my company's insurance.
Oh, okay.
But back in the day when they were forming, I guess you could say I was one of the forming first people to join, because my pastor introduced this to us at church, and we just signed a little paper, our little pledge and all that, and actually supported them in that ministry. Had no idea. Like I said, we left and we were gone 30 something, 40 years. So, but yeah, so to come
Yeah.
back and see them, just this superb organization, and they do so much good for the neighborhood, just like St. Jude. They do so much good for the neighborhood.
Yes. When we went, and like I said, the medical community out there, we have to credit them so much because we're from there. So of course we get the benefits. But when they caught Kori and they looked behind her eyes and they were so thorough. And then when I was going through my panic attacks, and how he didn't just call it a panic attack, he went and he got me an EKG that day. Like I just had to go downstairs, and it was just, it was dope. It was really, I really enjoyed going there, even still to this day. And I love the fact that they turned the old Sears Center into so yeah, it's really dope. I love the whole concept. But yeah, moving on from there, I know you're tired. I'm not going to keep you long. I do want you to tell people though. So we did talk about Elvis. We talked about, I want to say the Big Bang story for last. We'll get everything
Well,
else
let me
off.
tell you this funny story about Elvis before we leave Elvis. And maybe this is what you were remembering.
The
So
Cadillac.
Elvis, yes, he always had this habit of giving away pink Cadillacs. And so he was my patient, and he really liked me and I really liked him. But I had ulterior motives. I wanted that Cadillac because it was coming up to Mother's Day. And I was driving this raggedy Ford, and it was white, and it had this big old hole in the floor. So, I'm like, I'm gonna get this Cadillac this Mother's Day. I'm gonna be driving this Cadillac home. And so he had it parked in the parking lot next to the hospital, right? And so I'm just walking around, oh yeah, it's mine. I know it's mine. Well, I didn't get the Cadillac. I was mad at him for a long time.
But that's okay, because you got your first one and you ain't stopped.
I can credit him for the love. I can credit him for the love of the Cadillac that I didn't get. So I've had one practically ever since.
Not only you, I think most people, like everybody in our family had one at one point. Like, wow, like everyone. But we need some Cadillac, No, I'm kidding. But yeah. Okay, yeah. So that story. Oh, okay, so you went from being a nurse, and you were ER nurse at
Baptist Memorial and at Sharp Memorial.
Sharp and then Kaiser. And I can tell my story about how I got so sick that day. And you wanted me to go to school. You didn't want me to stay at home because you didn't like the people that was at home. So you wanted me to go to school, and I was insistent to stay at home. And I kept telling you that I didn't feel good. And you were like, no, okay, we'll just go to school. Well, I have just like a small shift, and I'll just come get you after. And you were like, you have a party anyway, so why don't you want to go to school? I'm like, no, really, I don't feel good. And you said, okay, well, just go and I'll come get you when I get finished. And I said, okay. Just so happened, me and my brother, Maurice, happened to be in the same class. Before we're sitting outside waiting for class open because we get there around breakfast time or whatever. And I think I tried to eat. I think that's probably what happened. I tried to eat something. And I walk into the classroom and I'm like, we're setting up for the movie and they're putting like all the candy in there. You know how in elementary school, like people pass out whatever snacks or whatever they bought. So they passing out the snacks, turn it off for the movie. And I was like, all over my desk. Just so happened my brother happens to be in the same class with me. So normally he like is my worst. Want to just give it to me more, like pour milk on me. Oh, he's just the worst to me in school. So I'm thinking like, oh, man, like, he gonna take this opportunity to really let me have it, but he was really sweet. And he, I think he even cleaned it up for me. And he took me to the nurse. And a little while later, I started shaking. And they called you. And they were like, come, I think they didn't know at first. So they just called you, said I was in the nurse's office. Mm-hmm. And then what happened? Did they call you back and was like?
No. So they called me, you were in the nurse's office. And so I'm at Shot Memorial, and which was about 8 miles, but it was freeway miles from the school. So I start running, to get you. And so I walk in there and I said, I'm here. My daughter, India Street, is here. She's sick. And they tell me, ma'am, you need to go down to the corner, make a right-hand turn, get on the freeway, take it down to India Street. That's in the old town district. And we're new to California, to San Diego. And I'm like, what? If you don't find my daughter. I had no idea what they were talking about. I didn't know there was a street named India Street. So so that was that funny story on that. But you were you were critically ill.
Yeah, I just remember sitting in the office and I'm shaking and they're like, are you cold? And I'm like, no. They're like, but you're shaking. And I'm like, but I'm not cold. So she goes to take my temperature. And my temperature was like 101 and it was shooting up. And I think by the time you got there, it was close to 103. So I don't remember much because I slept. Mm-hmm. Like I think I passed out. My temperature was so high, not passed out, but I was just in and out of consciousness. And I just remember like you took me to one doctor and I'm laying on the table. And I remember just waking up. It was like a dream. And they were like, I remember them saying like, you need to get her to the emergency room right now or something. And you picked me up and was like, let's go. He was like, can you walk? I was like, yeah. And that's kind of, I remember, and I remember being at Kaiser and I passed out again. And like all these years, it's so funny. I was telling people that you passed out. No, I didn't tell them you passed out. I was telling people that you were having a procedure done. And so that I was laying in the bed next to you, waiting for you to get your procedure done after I had got done. Because I guess I was so out of it. That's what I thought happened. So I'm just like, yeah, she had got something done too. So, because I remember you being off work that day and you had called them, was like, I'm headed there, my daughter or whatever. And I remember your friends like meeting us at the door and was like, and like taking me and then like, of course, making me comfortable. Of course, I'm your daughter. I had been up there with you a few times, so they knew me. And they were like, that's how I tell people all these years. I was like, she had a procedure done too, and then we left. And then driving back from Vegas, about 3 years ago when we went, oh my God, we traveled like 5 different states but going from San Diego to Vegas, we passed the thing and we passed the hospital. And I'm telling September and Corey the story. And you're like, girl, it didn't happen that way.
No, it didn't happen that way.
I'm like, what you mean? That's how I've been telling the story.
No,
so what happened? You said my lungs collapsed?
Yeah, you had your lungs collapse. And so
I never knew my lungs collapsed my whole life.
Collapsed.
I'm glad I didn't. That probably would have scared me.
And they were saying you was not going to make it. And And then at one point, they were trying to resuscitate you and get you all hooked up and everything.
They have to resuscitate me?
Yeah, you were pretty sick.
Oh
And
my God.
so what happened was,
Ooh, I never knew I came so close to death.
somebody said she didn't make it. And I'm thinking they're talking about you. So then if you didn't make it, I wasn't going to make it. So then I passed out too. I'm like, take me, Lord. I'm ready. And so that's why I was on the stretcher next to you, because they wasn't even talking about you. They wasn't even talking about our room.
I'm Marnie at the charger.
So, but they were talking about somebody down in the hall or whatever that didn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking they're talking about my baby. And so I don't know, caused myself to have, I don't know, maybe it was a panic attack. I don't know. But anyway, they had to stretch me out too and work on me. So that's what you remember. I'm like, what are you talking about? No, that's not what happened. You were going, I was going too.
That is so funny, because all these years I never knew that. I just knew that I got really sick, and I just thought that I just got really sick. I remember I just always tell people it was my fever. I never knew that it was so severe.
Yeah, your lungs collapsed. And I think it was because you had that cold. If you remember, you had a cold, and you didn't get antibiotics. They gave you like cough syrup and things like that, comfort. And so not realizing that you probably had pneumonia.
No.
And it after a while, your body was fighting. You were so young.
Right.
But yeah, that was so funny.
I didn't know that happened.
Yeah, if he was taking one, he had to take two that day.
Thank you. I know how you feel though. So my baby I was like,
yeah.
Oh. Yeah. But this battery is going low, and I know you're tired. I do want you to end off. And like I said, we'll continue this because I want to get Mr. Floyd in here and let him tell his story, and let you, of course, tell anything else you want to say. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, after becoming a nurse, you went on to have child cares, and you did so many wonderful things through that. Also, I remember, it's so funny because I told you, like, people be talking and they don't know, like, your journey. And it's like, yeah, you're a teacher, but have you ever taken anyone home? Like, my mother not only had a child care, but she was an advocate. Like, not an advocate, but like, you were just a woman of the community. You was everyone's mother. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember so many nights where I had to like watch other people's kids because you're at CPS getting somebody else's kids. And I mean, our house was always busy. House. And I think that's when you told me what you told me about a mother and because you were like, out of all these boys, it's my 9-year-old daughter that's sitting here helping me, open my businesses and, and just come home and like help you do everything and pretty much give you a break, basically, when I got home from school, and I would help you in the morning so you can get ready and everything. And I would open the daycare for you if you were running late. So I did a lot before I went to school. Take care of the nephews, open the daycare, go to school.
I know your battery is running late, but I want to give you these kudos because you were, and if you remember, I used to call you my brain in an emergency. I've never been really good in emergency when it comes to my kids. I panic, and you were always that brain. You were always that calm one. And
what happened to her?
I guess I wore out.
Me too, I guess. I'm gonna get her back. She's still in there.
And so what I could do was I could send you, and Tony too, at 11 years old, when I had the New Beginnings rental service and the school going, and then I was working another job, I could send Tony put him my oldest. I could put him on a bus on his bike, and he would ride his bike. And I didn't realize how dangerous that was. But he would take like $1,000, you know, $2,000 or $3,000 to the bank and deposit it for me because I couldn't get there. And you know, a little boy. And then, of course, he would come home from school, being the oldest, and go to the babysitter and get you guys so I could go from the nursing to the hairdresser, you know, because I was a shampoo girl at a beauty shop before I got my cosmetology license. And so I would do that. And then I did real estate. So while I'm working all these multi jobs, you know, he became my backbone. And then as he got and then as he got older and left home, you're the baby. And so you became the one that I depended on to fill that role, and you did it quite well. And so when I say I'm so proud of all my children, it's because you guys allowed me to be me. And I was talking to Darby the other day, and he said, Mama, you know, you were not a traditional mother, right? I said, boy, I was the most traditional mother you ever seen. He said, what mother ever goes on strike against their own kids? So you took a picket sign and walked in front of our house and said, I'm on strike. I said, you remember that? He said, yes, I remember that.
I remember that one.
I went on strike for a week. I had to have a break. So yeah, I wasn't traditional.
Yeah, and I want to tell you how proud I am of you. And I'm sure so many people, and how many lives you touched, and how many people you've helped, and how many people you continue to help. So, like, you're amazing, and I want you to know that. And I've heard you say less than that about yourself, and I just want you to know, in front of the world, you are amazing, amazing. Well, I do remember, like, okay, so you had it rough with your boys, though.
Oh yeah.
So throughout all that you were doing, you still had to deal with these boys that you thought were sending out to protect themselves, who turned out to be these people in the street that and I remember one day you came home and Dwayne had bought somebody home that Sam was into it with in the streets. And, you know, Sam is a super hothead, you know, stoplight, break your nose type of hothead, you know, so.
Oh, yeah.
So Dwayne brings him to the house and you're not there. And, you know, you're on your Saturday morning thing with Auntie, you know, go see your dog. But
I still go see a man about it all.
Yeah, that trip. The trip we loved, okay? You go see that man. You better go see this.
Get your Fridays, get yourself to freedom.
No, we were slick too. We were knocking at the door, you get home, like, they was already in here. But anyways, so Sam was upset. Like, Wayne, you know, they little gang, what, you know, why you bring this person to the house, whatever, you know, we got beef in the street, you know, you ain't supposed to da. And Dwayne was like, I didn't know, you know what I'm saying, all this is going on, plus it's my homie, and plus we were just top five, I didn't know you was gonna be here. So Sam, being a highhead he is, get into it with the guy. They thumping in the house, end up breaking your window, the whole front window in the court. You remember? You walked home. And I don't know, was Sam getting in your face and talking junk because you was like getting at him or whatever? I just remember you flipped Sam so fast, you ended up on the couch. You was on top of him. You had him pinned down. We were trying to get you off. I don't think we were trying to get you off, though. We were trying to tell that nigga, run. Run.
I already confessed I was not a traditional mother, and I did not talk back. You listen, and I had 6 or 7 boys in the house, and if I didn't take control of them, they would have taken control of me. And so
they were older. We ain't talking about like, no, he was like 20 something. He wasn't no young boy. He was a man.
Yeah, he was a man, but he was still my son. And he didn't mouth off at me. And so I had to let him know, even though you guys call me Shorty, I had to let him know I'm a little piece of leather, but I'm well put together. Don't try me.
And I couldn't even believe he tried it. He had just busted the whole window, and I think he broke the gate too, right?
Yeah.
Broke the gate too?
Yeah. It was, you guys, it was not easy. It was not easy.
I wouldn't change anything. We had so much fun. I mean, it was never a dull moment.
Never.
And I don't know, we didn't mind you being
I mean, you did.
certain moments, like now, I'm not gonna lie, like, no, there are certain moments, like I look now and Kori showed me the picture of like you there with September at her graduation. I'm like,
you get over it.
Will I ever?
Yeah, I was there for yours.
You wasn't there for the events. You were only there for the graduation.
Well, I had to work.
I know, but I'm just saying it like.
Well, I'm sorry, and that's why I asked you guys to forgive me.
I understand how like that parent, that the child that doesn't grow up with the parent or whatever, and then like they see the younger child that gets more of the grandparent and not the parent, and we're looking at them like, I mean, we wouldn't change nothing for the world though. I had a lot of fun and I was driving and come on, I didn't, but I did miss those moments. My lipstick is still off in my pictures to this day because, it wasn't there and I didn't have the right lipstick. But other than that.
Oh, you were so gorgeous, you didn't need lipstick.
But other than that. But yeah, I want you to, we're going to come back to it. And I just want to let people know why, not only did you make it through, so you're the most perfect person to not only co-host with me and my, and Kori, if she ever come on the screen. But, you have so much experience and they don't even know, from Oakland to the hoods in Oakland to, oh my God, like we haven't even started to touch on your story like at all.
No. I mean, it's been a journey. It's been a journey, from Crump all the way around the United States, only out of the country a couple of times. It's been a journey, but like you, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't work as much, but if I didn't work,
I would have a little bit more fun.
Yeah,
definitely have a little bit more fun.
Yeah.
A lot more fun. Well, I had a lot of fun. I think I would probably settle down more. I think I would probably go a little bit more opposite. I think I would have wanted to got like a little married earlier and stuff like that, and still have my fun. But I think I would have, if I would have got, you know what I'm saying, clear earlier. I think that I definitely enjoy being in a relationship as opposed to not being in one. I think that's the one thing that I come to figure out about myself. I do have a little bit of a bone to pick with you too, but only if we have enough time.
I have enough time.
I need to get this charger. Really quickly. You were there. Well, you were there. I mean, a lot through the civil rights movement. Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
And you were also present the day that Martin Luther King